Hi everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Stuck in the Studio. My name is Justin Whitty, and I'm the curator of the Cleve Carney Museum of Art. Today I had the opportunity to speak with the artist, actor, and writer Tony Fitzpatrick. We'll be presenting Tony's work in the inaugural exhibition of the Cleve Carney Museum of Art. That exhibition, entitled Jesus of Western Avenue, will open on October 3rd. Today, Tony and I talked about that exhibit. We talked about his forthcoming book, puzzles, his time at the College of Dupage, and his relationship with the late Cleve Carney. So, Tony, thanks for joining us today. What's been going on at the studio?
For virtually hanging out with me, man. I'm just back in my studio now. I mean, I quarantined at home for 2 months. It's just great to be back in my studio. You know, this is my safe place. This is where I'm in charge. And
so, what are you working on now that you're back in the studio?
well, I'm working on. I just finished a book called Jesus of Western Avenue. And I realized as I was finishing the book, the quarantine went into effect, and I thought, I can't ignore this. I can't not write about it. It's the only thing like this that's ever happened in my lifetime. So I decided the last third of the book would be a Corona diary and some corresponding art. Yeah. From the perspective of somebody who's in Chicago, somebody who's in a great big Midwestern city with, 7 million people, if you include the counties, the collar counties and everything, I mean, Chicago, it's kind of the most American of cities because every single culture is represented here. If you go 3 blocks west of me, you're in Mexico and Puerto Rico. If you go south of me, you're in Lithuania. You're in, people who were kidnapped from Africa. Every part of the city has its own kind of ethnic signature, and that's what I love about it. I mean, I can remember being able to walk down Chicago Avenue when I first moved to Ukrainian Village. And I could close my eyes and I could hear 5 different languages between Ashland and Damon Avenue.
So is your new book based on your experiences of those neighborhoods?
It's a lot about who built this city. It's a lot about what Nelson Albert called the people who live behind the billboards. I mean, particularly Western Avenue. It's the longest street in the world. It's 26.3 miles. Anything longer than that, and they got to call it a road. And it goes, from the penthouse to the outhouse to the penthouse and back. It covers every economic strata, and almost every L line crosses it. Some of them twice. And up where I am, right between, North Avenue and Division Street, it's the working class 500, I mean, and it's a kill or be killed street. It is people who work 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, 9 in the morning till 5 at night, and they got to get there. They're pissed off and they're fast, I mean, if you're going to pass somebody on the right, with a pickup truck full of scrap steel, Western Avenue is where you want to do it, and when I was a kid, it was just absolutely from start to finish with used car lots and these blinking sequential lights. And I remember, asking my dad to drive me up and down Western because it was like something out of Times Square, or what I imagined Times Square looked like. It was our version of that, and it was filled with blinking lights and the colors of urgency, and it never ever left me. So this book is a bit of a tribute to those folks.
So when does the book come out?
We're fighting to get it out by the time the show Cleve Carney Museum opens,
Tony, your show at the Cleve Carney Museum this fall has the same title as your book. Is the work you're making for that exhibition directly tied to the book?
Believe me, the book is pretty much the show, but I feel like I'm on it, and I feel like the last third of the book, which is the Corona Diary, it's kind of fitting because I keep it over and over again as I write it. It seems like it's the writing of a guy who just does not know what's next. And you know what? I don't, and we don't. And it's kind of like being, the drunk couple at the prom. You hope they make home, but you don't know. I actually stole that from Stud Circle. So, in fact, I steal a lot from Stud Circle. He was my hero and my mentor. It shaped the way that I saw the world. What I'm thrilled about is that the Cleve Carney Museum is named for somebody I knew and who supported my work and collected my work. And I spent a lot of time with him. I met him because I caddied for his father.
Okay.
A very serious guy named Marv Carney, who had a bakery and then a bunch of bakeries and did quite well. But he was a stern, kind of serious type. And he always looked at me, and I was like 13 years old. I had long hair. I smoked cigarettes on the course. I just kind of put out a certain image, And he goes, "So what do you want to do with your life?" And I said, "Well, I'm going to be an artist." And he goes, "You and my kid, my kid likes all of that, And a couple of weeks later, I caddied for him again, and his son was golfing with him. Cleve loved to golf, and I think Cleve was probably, not long out of college, not long out of law school then, But he was fun, He was, he'd give me sips of his beer, he was a fun guy. And I said, your dad is like, he's kind of a grouch, He goes, "Oh, you don't know the half of it, But, Cleve, he said, "Well, what kind of art do you make?" I said, "Well, I really like comic books, and I like this and that." And we started talking about things. And he'd say, "Well, go look at this, go look at that." At one point, there was a show up at the MCA, German Expressionism of the 30s and 40s. And at the same time, there was a Guston show.
Oh, wow.
He made it a point to call me up and tell me to go see those shows. And the German Expression of the 30s show was full of like Kristen Schaad, Max Beckman, Otto Dix. And this just opened up the whole world to me. The first thing I ever wanted to draw, and I'm pretty sure the drawing will be in the show, was Dick Tracy. I love Dick Tracy. And then, when I became like a little older delinquent, I found Mad Magazine. It's like, these guys think all the people who are in authority are. I so love these guys, and because it was snappy answers to stupid questions. The little Sergio Aragonés drawings at the bottom of the page. I found new heroes, opened up a new world, and I learned something from it. In that, if you don't teach people anything, you better make them laugh, or they'll kill you. I stole that from Billy Wilder. But he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong, because every time I read Mad Magazine, through no fault of my own, I got smarter. It had politics. It was topical, and if they were making fun of like Nixon or Agnew, you had to know who those guys were and what they did and what they were accused of for the humor to land. So it made me very curious about other kinds of writing, and I had started writing my own poems when I was a teenager, and cobbled it all together. All of this stuff kind of went into my internal blender, and my work is what came out of it. And Cleve was one of the guys who pointed the way, who lit the way. believe me, there are 100 Chicago artists who could tell you the exact same story.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe not the exact same story, but in some way, this man aided and was a champion. You know, he was a great guy. He loved to do everything. He loved wine. He loved food. He loved golf. I mean, if Cleve Carney were something in nature, he was a pond full of otters, man. That guy had a good time, you know?
Well, it's a perfect fit then that you would be the first artist showing in this new space.
The thing that's foremost on my mind is honoring his memory. He was so good for College Dupage. You know, when I went to College Dupage, it looked like a warehouse. It looked like a warehouse where you put like criminals, you know, and it was a big kind of brown steel thing on the prairie. And then across the street was the art building. I don't know if it was across Park Avenue or Lambert Road, one of those. It was by the barn, but it was a one-story kind of low-slung thing. The theater department was over there. And the first acting I ever did was at College Dupage. I had a lead in a play called Waiting for Lefty, which was a good old, you know, Pinko, Clifford Odets WPA project that was about the importance of unions. And it was directed by Stephen Best. And, you know, back then we had these phenomenal theater teachers, Richard Holgate, Jody Briggs, Craig Berger. I mean, they were good. They were really solid, you know, and they gave this town a lot of actors. So I mean, I tend to think of College Dupage as where I was able to set my compass and realize I wanted to be a working artist and hopefully an actor at the same time. And the greatest thing about it was that nobody there ever told me you can't do that. Nobody there ever said stay in your lane. Nobody there ever said this isn't possible. Instead, they said go for it, do it. You know, and when you get that kind of permission, and this is not to suggest I was a good student. Mr. McInich, Hal McInich, who brought that school forward, you know, at warp speed, and the institution it is today is because of him. He told me once, he said, you know, the worst anybody can ever say to you is no. And that kind of rattled around in my head like a baby in a boxcar, you know. But at COD, I mean, what I began to realize is that it's all possible.
Yeah.
And that was kind of all I needed.
Tony, we've kind of mentioned it, but in addition to being an accomplished visual artist, you're also an accomplished writer, an actor, having been in numerous plays around Chicago, having been in films and on TV, most recently in the Amazon Prime original series, Patriot.
It's weird now because quarantine's going on. People are watching the hell out of it. It's like, I actually get made. You know, I mean, I damn near never get right. And I'm walking down Chicago Avenue the other day outside of Mariano's. Some guy drives by and he screams, "Bird Bath!" You know, on Patriot, I played kind of a shady character named Jack Birdbath, who we find out is a disgraced policeman, and all manner of calamity befalls him. You know, so and it was a marvelous role to have.
I've read you also really enjoyed your time filming in Paris.
Oh God, yeah, I didn't want to come home. You know, my son worked on the second half of the season as a production assistant to the director. And the night before we had to leave, we were practically in tears. Like, plus, it was like 3 degrees in Chicago.
Right.
It was February, you know. And while I was there shooting, we moved from the West Loop to Humboldt Park. And we got to O'Hare and we realized we didn't know our address. I had to call my wife up and say, where do we live now? I mean, I knew where it was, but I never thought to write down the address. And
Right.
it was, but I'll tell you what, I mean, it made me appreciate Humboldt Park immensely.
Tony, can you tell us about your puzzles?
It was like a month and a half ago, I'm sitting in Humboldt Park realizing I don't have an income, And, my wife had told me and other friends had told me, and said, these would make good jigsaw puzzles. And some years ago, somebody made a little one. And every time we did the Renegade Craft Fair, because I love that fair, it's just a culture of people who just make stuff, And my posters, we would sell there, and they sell really well. But every time we brought the puzzles, I mean, we would like sell out like crazy. So we did it, and I kind of got caught flat-footed. I underestimated the appetite for them, and the first one sold out in 16 minutes. Just a few hundred of them. And then last week, the second wave of puzzles went to market. Just some of them, whatever we could afford to have airlifted over. And they sold out even quicker. So I may have stumbled into clover here,
Hey, Tony, I know these are unusual times, but I really appreciate you taking some time to talk with me today. Let's hope everything is much more back to normal this fall for your exhibition at the museum.
You and I both know that October 3rd, we could very well be in a state of that. We're not going to have the kind of opening that I usually have. And you know what? I don't care. You got to move forward. The one thing that's a constant, the one thing that survives, the one thing proves you cannot kill ideas is that art goes forward.
Thank you so much to Tony Fitzpatrick for speaking with us today. If you want to find out more about his work or try to buy some of his puzzles, you can go to the website listed here. Or if you're interested in checking out his work in Patriot, that is available on Amazon Prime to stream now. Thank you so much, and I'll see you soon.